Hi, I'm Megan.
And I'm Alyse.
And you're listening to the Connection Podcast. This is a space where we empower one another in harnessing our divine feminine energy through community, sisterhood, and curiosity.
Join us each week as we explore spirituality, entrepreneurship, female community, health and wellness, and more. For more content, follow us on Instagram at The Connection Pod. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Connection Podcast.
Hello. We have a special guest today, Dany Michaels.
Yeah, Dany is a angel medium. Is that the correct term?
Yes, he is an angel medium. He helps facilitate messages from his angels, as well as deceased loved ones to kind of help bring ease and also to help guidance in your life.
How did you find him? I don't know if we ever talked about that.
It was really weird. Of course, with Instagram and all of its wonderful algorithms, I believe, but I actually wasn't following him at all. It was one of those pages that just show up when you're scrolling. And it was a reel, and I was watching him and his messages, and he was just kind of explaining what he does. And he seemed very, very genuine to me. So I immediately was just kind of attracted to his light. And I looked up his website and I was like, oh, his 30-minute sessions are so affordable at the time. And they might still be this price, but I think they were like $70 for like 30 minutes. I'm like, yeah, doing that.
Wait, don't tell him that because then he's going to raise
Don't raise your price. Not on that one. Don't raise your price yet. He already has raised his prices. And then I sent it to you just being like, oh, check this guy out. And that was it.
Yeah. What I remember is you sending me the profile. No message with it.
Yeah.
And we do that to each other. We send things to each other back and forth, funny memes usually, or reels or whatever.
As lovers do.
Yeah. And so we didn't talk about it. There was no discussion about it, but I went, of course, and looked at his profile. Also went on the website, and same thing. I was like, oh, wow, he's so affordable. I'm like, what is this? This seems really cool. Like, I would like to talk to my angels and see what that's about. And so I booked a session with him without knowing that you also booked a session with him. We had it like a couple of days apart.
Yeah. I think it was wild. I think I had messaged you maybe like the day before, and I'm like, hey, I have a session with Dany tomorrow. And you're like, wait, I have a session on Friday kind of deal.
Yeah. It was really fun. And we didn't tell him that we knew each other, because when you first meet with an intuitive for the first time, like even as an intuitive, I'm like skeptical, and I'm like, okay, let's just see what this person's made of.
Yeah.
What they can pick up. I don't remember if he brought anything through about our friendship.
No.
Or about like a partnership. Because at the time, I think had started the podcast yet?
No, we hadn't started yet.
I don't know if we even had talked about it yet.
He had brought it up. He had brought up that connection and like spreading that message and that light. Especially to females in the basis of female empowerment. I want to say he might have said something to me about like a partnership with you, but that was the first one, and I don't remember. Like I didn't record it, so I don't remember.
Yeah. So we're excited for you guys to meet him. We're excited to talk to him. We're gonna just pick his brain about all things angels, how he learned how to do this, what's the dark versus the light, because that's something he talks about a lot on Instagram.
And what it's like to really sit with him too, and what that experience is. So if you guys are interested in sitting with him, he holds a beautiful space, and never once is it like an awkward experience. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. So without further ado, this is our conversation with Dany Michaels. Okay. It's so good to have you on the podcast, Dany. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're well. We're really, really excited to sit with you today. You're one of my favorite people, so I'm really stoked. To everyone listening, I actually work with Dany. He's one of my mentors. So to kind of start it off, Dany, can you tell us about yourself and how you got started with your spiritual business?
Well, I was born being able to see angels and talk to them. So something that I was born with. And since I was little, and then I just kind of slowly started to, do the thing where like I was going to college and stuff like that. And then I decided to follow this path, and I just kind of trusted myself and what God was guiding me towards. And so it's been a journey ever since. But I never took a class or anything like that. So with me, it's pretty much just who I am, that I just started to trust and move into for that direction. So it's been a journey since then.
How young were you? Like what's like your earliest memory of being able to see angels? What was like that what was that like for you?
That I can remember, that I can remember was probably like 3 years old, that I can remember like all the way back then. But I mean, my mom's been telling me stories since even when I was a baby. Like she says that I would like stare or I would start crying out of nowhere, as if someone was there, and it was just so it's been since I came here.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
crazy. What was that like the first time you were able to like verbalize that you were seeing something, like when you got old enough? What was that like for your mom, your family? Like, how did you communicate that?
Well, I only told my mom, and it started like my mom thought it was that I had imaginary friends. Like she
Yeah.
thought that I had imaginary friends, so she was just. But my mom's also been a really strong believer, also in all like spirituality stuff and all that. Um, so she would believe me when I would tell her like there's someone there and stuff like that. And she so I don't know, I mean, to me it's something that I was just it was normal to me, it was real. So I would just talk about it and talk to them. And then I think it started getting more intense for my mom when it started to take more into our lives. Like I would be like telling her to like set plates of food because I wanted them to eat, and play with them, or even know things. Like they would tell me things that only my mom knew, like things like that when it started to get more intense, I think. But she always tells me that she always knew that that I had something special like that. But to me it was normal. That's what people always ask me, like, was it difficult? And it wasn't, honestly. Like
Yeah.
it was to me, it's just normal. Like I don't talk about things because it's so normal to me, because I see spirits and angels every day at every minute of the hour, but I don't talk about it. Like I'm not like, oh my God, I'm not telling my friends like, oh my God, there's this person there. Like I'm not, to me, it's just so normal that it's like a very normal world to me. And yeah, so it was just like, I don't know, it wasn't very difficult for me because I also just trusted them too. Like when they would tell me like, don't tell someone this, and I would just want to tell them. And it was always for like my safety, like my safety of not being perceived as weird or crazy or something like that. But yeah, it was just, I don't know, to me it was very normal.
I love to hear that though, because there are so many people that, have gifts that may be stronger than others, more so in the sense of being able to see, what is that,
Clairvoyance?
Yeah, clairvoyance. Yeah, that. Well, instead of just in the mind's eye, clear, because there are a lot of people that listen that may not have the language or understand what we're saying when we say that. So, but there are so many individuals that maybe have a gift where they're seeing spirits and they can't talk about it, or maybe they can't come out to their parents and letting them know, so it's interesting. And I think that like the message of just being like, just be true to who you are and just welcome those gifts and try to use it in a helpful way, which is what you do. That's what Dany does. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why to me it's still very normal to me, like I don't know. I'm like, my abilities are very like unique. Like I've never met a lot of people with like my same way of hearing them and seeing them, that I don't know, I just feel really like, to me it's just normal, like I don't get surprised or I don't freak out, or like it's just kind of like, okay, that's cool, and I
Yeah.
don't know, it's just but it's because I was born like this, like
Yeah.
I didn't tell people sometimes, like my not a lot of my family knew, because once I started to get more like knowledgeable of how the world was and stuff, that's what I feel like I was just like, okay, like I'm not going to tell them this, or I'm not going to do that. And then I just started to kind of just keep it to myself, but still experience things and for others and stuff like that. So it was very nice though, because I don't know. I never felt threatened. I never felt any negative energies. I mean, from my angels, they're just
Yeah.
very loving and protective, and then God and Jesus, like, I don't know. It's very cool to see all that, but also it also comes with like also being able to see the bad things too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you that too. How can you tell the difference between a darker energy and a light energy?
Well, it's like, I get a lot of people ask me that because the more known I become, the more Christians love to criticize me.
Yeah.
And I have nothing against Christians. Like, I love everybody, but they just love to criticize me and say that I'm channeling demons, like it's demons what you're seeing, it's not angels. Um Clearly they don't know what a demon is because if they would look at my profile, my videos, or if they would even take the time to talk to someone that got a reading from me, they would know that I don't give anyone fear. I take it from them. I take your pain away. I take your fear away. A demon wouldn't do that. A demon wants to destroy, and that's how you can tell is that first of all, it's a frequency. Your body, like magnetically speaking, your body reacts to the negative energy, the negative entity. You'll get goosebumps, you'll feel this fear, you'll feel threatened. Like it's like your body reacts to being threatened, to that fear. And demons project fear is what they're made of. They're made of negativity. So when they're near you, your body will feel that first, and then your mind, you'll start to question things. You'll start to feel weird and stuff like that. But it's a frequency, because with an angel or with a light entity, you just feel loved. You feel really amazing. You feel empowered. So it's in the frequency is what I tell people. But other people just like to judge, they like to just be like, and I feel like, I don't know if they think that I think I'm special or something, that God chose me to, and it's like, it's not even about that, it's about helping people. And that's how you're able to do it, because demons want to destroy, they want to make you crazy, they want to project pain and fear on people. And I never do that, and an angel doesn't know how to do that either. So that's how I kind of, always tell people it's a frequency of like, it's like if you have two friends and one's awesome and you love, and the other one's negative and pessimistic, that's how you can tell, like the one that carries a negative energy is, it's going to be, your body's going to know, you're going to feel like, what is this, And then your the good vibes and all that, that's God. That's part of you. It's making you feel comfortable, because and negative energy doesn't belong in our body. We feel it. Even when you're mad, even when you're an angry person, when you're a hateful person, you're doing wrong, but you're just so wrapped up on all that, and your body can perceive it. And so can our minds, so like, that's how you can kind of differentiate between all that.
Yeah, Dany, you've helped me in our mentoring sessions of kind of deciphering between that. And it really like comes down to negative mindset. So whenever these negative thoughts come in of fear and doubt, which you've taught me, it's like those are those negative entities that are trying to stop you from your life purpose, stopping you from helping other people. And it's best to just push through those, because those are temporary moments. You can push through those and stay in your faith and stay in the positive. Like that's actually what's really helped me push through a lot of situations I've been in since working with you. So that's like the best way that I can apply it just from day to day life.
Yeah. We're able to perceive energy, like our bodies are, like a bad vibe, a good vibe, a lie. Like you're able to perceive a negative frequency faster than a good one, because we're created by God, which is a positive entity, the most powerful positive force. And negativity doesn't belong inside of us, because negativity can cause you illnesses, cancer, because it doesn't belong in your body. So that's how, you're able to perceive when it's a good entity or a bad entity,
Yeah. Would you say that's like one of the most common questions that clients ask you, or like, what are like the top 3 common questions that you get whenever you sit with someone for the first time?
What's my purpose is the first, like the most common one. Um, Love, like, am I going to meet someone? Am I good with my
You're just
person? Like,
listing off all the questions I asked you, probably.
and then what's another one? I think that's it. I think those are like the two most common ones that people,
People ask like how many angels they have.
yeah, they'll ask how many angels, or like if I can know their angel's name or something like that. Um, but yeah, those are kind of like the most common ones.
Yeah, what is it like? Because obviously, I want to bring more attention to what you do because I think it's so important. What is it like to sit with you in a session?
Well, my sessions are very different from other readers because mine are very therapeutic. Like they're like we remove things that you don't even know we're removing, you know. We make people feel great and safe and protected. We reconnect a lot of like your faith in God. So I feel like that's kind of like the difference from like, of course we go into like, are you doing this wrong? There's an opportunity coming, love, you know, and stuff like that. But it's more about how to get you into a better place than to let you know if you're going to get married. You know, like it's more of like, I always tell people it's very therapeutic. Um, when that happens, you know, because it's just really good. And then of
Yeah.
course you have your people that just, you know, think it's a game, or
Yeah.
not necessarily that's a game, but they just have an agenda, you know. But I mean, I'm not gonna turn anyone away, but my readings are more like that. Like we heal people, I guess. Even when I channel the dead, it's always to close something, to give someone peace, to give someone reassurance. And you know, it's very healing. It's like this healing session with a lot of things involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is I'm curious, what is the difference between channeling the angels that you do and like reading Akashic records? Are those things connected in any way? I've always
No,
wondered that.
that's really cool that you asked me that, because I don't even know what Akashic Records is.
Okay.
Next weekend, it's my friend's birthday, and she said she's gonna have a reader at her house if anyone wants to do it. So I don't know if I'm gonna try it or not.
You
Um,
should.
Yeah,
but
because
I've never had that.
sitting with you reminded me a lot of getting an Akashic record reading. I've only had two, but like you can go into a reading asking questions about your life or your purpose, things that you need to work on to excel in this area, like little things like that. And it reminded me of sitting with you. So I'm wondering what, like when you're tuning into the angels, if you're tuning into that same energy.
Maybe, but you know, I have a lot of clients that are Akashic Record readers, and they get readings from me, but I've never asked them what it is. And I don't even know what it's from, you know, like I don't know. And maybe it is very similar because your angels are always with you, so they kind of know everything about you, you know. So maybe it's kind of like a combination of it. I don't know, but I haven't had anyone do that with me, so I don't know I don't even know what it is. Like, where does it come from? Who created? Like, I have no idea what it is.
I would be really interested to see like what comes of that. Like if you choose to do that at your friend's birthday party, like what that experience
I
is for
might,
you.
I,
You
I might,
should.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I had someone do an astrology chart on me, and they couldn't figure it out for like so long until he finally turned to me and he was like, "Do you have some sort of ability, or like, are you?" And I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Okay, because nothing's making sense. Like, this isn't aligning." Where like it was just all these things. And he was like, okay, now it makes sense because you're like you have a different purpose or something. Like he explained it to me. He was a really cool guy. He was like a Native American shaman, and then he did
Yeah.
the astrology chart. But for a while, I could see he was like trying to figure out, and then he couldn't figure it out until he turned around. He's like, "What's going on?" And then I told him, and he was like, "Okay, this makes sense." And then we kind of moved forward and everything. But
And it's
yeah,
always
I
so
might try it.
fun. It's always so fun as a spiritual practitioner or someone who gives readings to be read. It's always
Yeah,
fun to be in the other seat. So you should definitely do that and see and
it's
report
really
back.
Yeah,
weird
just
with
report back.
it's really weird for me because I don't like to know anything. Like I just don't, because I trust God 100% that I don't care to know anything. And the few times that I've had a reading through friends, because they're always like, let me give you a reading, I've always been given fear because I feel like there's these dark entities trying to get to me, and they project fear through their readings, and they've been like card readings, and tools can be manipulated no matter what. And so ever since then, I'm like, and I could see the entity like roaming around the tools and stuff. So I was like, okay, this is just going to be pure fear. And it was like all these crazy stuff. But I also never, I don't know, I just never cared to want to know anything. Like, I'm just like,
yeah, you've told me that before. I think it was our last session together where you're like, they don't tell me anything about me.
yeah,
Or, like they don't tell anything about you, but they relay messages for other people. And then you're the individual who kind of like,
yeah.
decodes that message out.
Like I used to like probably when I was younger, when I was in like the teenage phase, and you're like, oh my God, I want to, like, I would ask them, but they just never would tell me anything about me, because they want me to be the perfect example of what it's like to trust God. And I understand it, because a lot of people, I've been giving the responsibility to teach a lot of people. So it's kind of like, would you really trust the teacher that goes to someone else? I don't know, so like,
Yeah.
I get it why they made me this way, but it's not even that. To me, it's more, I don't need to know anything. I just know that everything good or bad is going to be perfect. Like, I just don't care to know anything.
Yeah.
But it's more like it's just the way that I'm wired.
It's kind of nice. It's like being at peace with yourself and your life, and however it's going to turn out, that you're supported either way. So you don't need to know.
Well, it's part of being an angelic reader.
Yeah.
It's part of maintaining my abilities to the higher way that I give them, because I try my hardest not to engage in worry or fear or doubt. And I feel like that's why I don't care. Like, because if I were to think, if I want to know something, and I feel like it would make me feel like I'm worried about something, or I'm giving something energy that doesn't belong there. And that's why I don't really, I just trust God. Like, I'm just like, I know if something's bad, it's going to be good. And I know that if something's good, it's going to be okay. Like, I'm just like, I don't really care to know anything. That's why I haven't experienced a lot of readers. I experience more therapies. Like, I'll do like sound healing, or,
Oh, you love
like,
acupuncture too, right? Like that's, yeah.
Sure, all those like really good, like Chinese medicine's awesome. I do more therapeutic stuff than readings.
Yeah. Would you say, I mean, I guess with that being said, I mean, of course I want to ask you, like, what are some of the obstacles that you've had? Because like when you're in your human, or whenever you have to experience your human, there are obstacles that come with that, especially, with running a business as well. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious to like what you've experienced so far.
Well, I feel like with me, it's more my, like my body, like being able to maintain myself healthy, with like eating or something like that, or, drinking water, like things like that. Like, it's more about the body, like the physical self-care is where I like feel like some of my struggles come from. But I don't even know what else. Like, I feel like that's one of the ones that like really get to me. There was a while ago where I struggled with like anxiety, like having like really a lot of anxiety because of the energy that I would feel in certain things. And so like, I mean, I've gone through my own struggles for sure,
Yeah.
But it's more, to me, it's more body related. Like, I don't understand the human body very well. So it's very like, almost like, why can't I just fix this? Or why do I feel this? Why can I control this? Like, it's just more about that it's very different from like the spirit world,
Yeah, I know Alyse and I have been, we're kind of on similar healing paths and light work paths. So we've been taught I try to apply this, but I'm terrible. You're much better at like boundaries and like tuning off or tuning in. It's hard for me to do that. I know it's easier for you. I know even my sister has problems, tuning out, turning off. Do you have any practices that kind of help you kind of protect your own energy from like sitting with someone, or say if you're in a space and maybe there's something that's trying to drain you?
No, I
Yeah.
don't. I don't turn myself off. I don't worry about protecting myself because I know my angels are protecting me. Because that's the thing, is that when someone, like if you're being attacked, or if someone's doing something to you, you need to engage for that person to have power. Like you need to engage. If not, they won't get to your auric field or anything like that. So the moment that you're like, oh my God, I need to protect myself, because it's like you're already engaged right there, you know? So then with me, it's more like, okay, they're negative, but it's okay, you know? And then I just can concentrate on my energy, and just like, you know, of course, some people have really heavy energy, and it's just kind of, I still don't engage. Like I listen to them, but I don't care to respond very much, or like really go into it really deep, you know, and things like that. Especially like I feel a lot of that on social media, because a lot of people love to comment on stuff, and it's just kind of like, I asked one person, I was like, if you like, I don't mind, you know, if you don't mind, what pushed you, like you're going against what I'm saying, you know, like my video or whatever, and you don't like it, but what pushed you to go towards my profile and comment when you don't engage with the content? Like what is it? Like I don't get it. I don't, because to me, if I don't like something, I just keep scrolling, you know?
Yeah. You just don't say anything. Yeah.
But I just, and they're like, I just felt like, so I just felt like I had to do something. And that's another thing, is that they don't have that connection to the divine, because if they did, if I was doing wrong, then the divine will take care of me, you know? But they don't have that. So they think they need to do it themselves. So it's like this faith disconnection that a lot of people go through, that makes them engage in these situations that just bring their frequency down, you know, because I'm not bringing down with them. Like, I don't care if you like or not what I'm saying. I believe in myself and what I go through. But if you don't, then you can go down on your own, you know?
Well,
And
I
I
find
don't,
that, yeah, sorry. I just think that's interesting. I've always wondered, like individuals who function on a low frequency like that, like they still have angels.
yeah.
So I don't know, like, what is it with, I mean, everyone has angels, but if everyone has angels, but they can still function on a low frequency, like, is there any way for them to get out of that?
Yeah, but it's just harder because their low frequency is going to take them further and further from being able to listen to their angels.
And be like
So like,
connected.
yeah, so like
Yeah.
that frequency is going to block their it's never gonna keep them away from their angels, but it is going to block them from even being able to feel them, hear them, or even get intuition, get like a good vibe. Like it's just gonna block them from all that.
Yeah.
What are some ways that we could try to tune into our angels? Like, do you have any tips or like practices that you do even before a session to like tune into someone's angels specifically, or do they just show up? Like, if I wanted to tune into my own angels, I know that's what you do with one-on-one clients, like coaching stuff, right?
Yeah, well, I don't do anything to prepare myself, because they're just like here. They already know my schedule, so they already know who I'm seeing. They already know everything. The dead do, though. The dead, it's a little bit different. Like sometimes I'll see someone and I'm like, who are you? And then we start to find out that I'm gonna later on talk to their relative or something like that. But even there, I'll kind of like put them on hold because I still have other stuff to do, you know, and stuff like that.
You're like, come back at 2:00.
Yeah, or I'm like, we'll connect later, you know, we'll find out what's up or something.
Yeah.
But with the angels, they're always there, you know, they're not bound by anything, so they're always there. And then I just get to see them and hear them right away and stuff like that. So I don't particularly do anything to prepare myself, but what I tell other people is it's in the frequency, it's in the faith. Like that's going to be the first thing that you need to work on. Like you need to be getting higher faith, and you need to be removing things that are negative. So like if you're overthinking, if you're too stressed out, if you're negative, if you're worried, fearful, like all those things we would need to remove first before to get you to connect with them. Because an angel, it's a celestial being made out of pure love, pure light, pure joy. So we need to match their energy to be able to somewhat communicate with them. And if we don't, then it's gonna be harder.
Yeah, I mean, in my like mentoring sessions with you, Dany, I mean, I feel like that was one of like the first questions you asked me was like, where are you with your faith? Because I feel like, that absolutely determines, whether or not you're going to have that stronger connection with your angels. Because ever since working with you, I can go, what I do, I go into meditation, I do breath work. And, if you work with Dany, he can kind of help guide you through these, what I thought was like a, practice visualization, if you will. And it's just better helped me kind of connect in. I know exactly where to go when I want to talk to them. So,
Yeah.
but that's how it works for me. Maybe everyone's different. I'm not sure.
Everyone's different. Yeah, everyone's different. Cause like I'm sure you remember me telling you in your mentoring that what you're going to develop is going to be completely different than mine. Like I told you, like, do not try to follow my lead sometimes because you're going to develop your own, because we're all different. If I could teach people exactly how to hear them the way that I hear them, I would totally do it, but I know that everyone's different. So sometimes we have to go towards this field, this thing, this, whatever. That's why I first assess you and I first do things like that so that I kind of know where you're at a little bit. But everyone's going to develop differently. Everyone's going to do there's friends that I have that read, in their own ways. And I'm like, how do you do that? Like, how do you interpret this or that? Or, or even with cards, like, I don't understand how people interpret a card. Because when I look at these cards, I see nothing. I see a drawing,
Yep.
And people are like, oh, this means this and that. And, so like, to me, it's different. But everyone develops their own unique way of communicating with them, like, for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why we wanted to have you on too, is because it's a different way of connecting, of receiving messages, and from a totally different frequency, So I think it's important for people to understand there are so many different ways that you can still connect to God, and you can still connect to those higher beings that are there for you to guide you throughout your life.
When we're, I'm curious, when we're like listening to our intuition, when we're listening to our gut feeling, are those feelings coming from our angels, or is that just from like self?
No, well, it's going to be both, like, because your body can react to certain things, but your angels are going to talk to you through your intuition sometimes, because it's kind of like the easiest way for them to get a message through you or something like that. But then it's always like, you got to make sure that you listen, because if you don't, then you miss the message and things get going, But yeah, they'll borrow that, or they'll borrow like the voice inside your head, to kind of tell you something. And then you're like, am I talking to myself? So that's why it's a faith game. Like, the more faith you have, the easier that it becomes to acknowledge when they're talking to you.
So when you're like not working, you're out, you're spending time with your friends, you said don't turn yourself off. Do you feel like, are you compelled by the angels to like give your friends messages or about something coming through from them? Or you're like, no, book a session with me? Like, how do you navigate that when it's coming through real time?
Well, actually, my friends are really respectful. So like, they'll book with me,
Yeah.
and I'm like, don't do it. And they're like, no. Like, I don't need anything free from you.
That is really respectful.
I'm pretty blessed with the friendships that I have. The other thing is that a lot of my friends don't, like, some of them, yeah, they're like, hey, like, what's up here? But then other ones just treat me like a normal person.
That's
so
really
the
good.
only thing that they do is like if we go somewhere and they're like, are you seeing something, but they don't ask me about them or stuff like that, or they'll make it a point to like do it at a different time or do a session or something like that. So they're very respectful. But if I get something for them, I'll say it. Like, I don't wait for them to book a session or anything like that. Because I'm hearing their angels saying it, and stuff like that. But it doesn't happen all the time, because I also can pick up things on them, but I'm not supposed to say everything, so then I keep it to myself as well. And then later on, they'll tell me like, did you know about this? And I'm like, yeah, I just, I couldn't tell you.
Is that hard to keep it in?
No, because I know that if I would say it, I would create more damage.
Yeah.
So, and that I don't, or I would create pain, or I would create, it happens a lot with death. Like when I know someone's going to die, but I don't want them to worry. I want them to have hope. I want them to enjoy that time, without having that burden of death coming. So I don't. I even sometimes tell them, like, I think they're gonna get better. I feel like everything's gonna be good, because you want to maintain them in a good frequency, which is what the angels want to do. Because at the end of the day, death is not negative. People make it negative. And you don't want to add to that, like, and especially because of the type of reader that I am. And I'm not lying to them. I'm not giving them false hope, because at the end of the day, anything can happen, but it's just, I'm not supposed to know. I'm not supposed to tell them. They're not supposed to know, because they're supposed to go through their own journey through that. And because I'm able to pick up on that, it doesn't mean that I get to tell them everything that I'm seeing.
Is it hard for you to have that knowledge and to not, I mean, is there, I mean, you're probably so used to it now, but whenever you really started sitting with people, was that hard for you to have that knowledge and not to share it, or to know that and just know that about that person?
Well, sometimes it was hard at the beginning, because when I was younger, I wanted to fix it. Like, I wanted to fix it. I wanted to help. I wanted to do it. And then it started to drain me, and I noticed that I would create more like fear or damage onto them or something like that. And then, but no, I mean, I don't know. I just trust God so much that I'm just like, even when it's something that I don't want my friend to go through, or this or that, like, I'm just like,
It's
like,
out of your hands.
yeah,
It's
it's
out of
out
your
of my
hands.
hands. So it's
Yeah.
almost like, like I had a lady called me yesterday or 2 days ago, and she's one of my friends' granddaughter. She's my friend's grandma. And I saw my friend, we had a birthday party for myself, and I saw her there, and I know her uncle was sick, and she asked me about it, and I could see it. I could see that his health was in a really bad spot. And I told her, I was like, I think he's gonna get better. I think it's gonna be like a journey. Like, I told her that, because I don't want to give her bad news. I don't, especially when I don't have to. And they probably all were expecting it too, or something like that. And then this lady called me. She's like, oh yeah, she told me that you ran into her at the party and you asked her about him. Well, he passed away. And I told her, I was like, I know. I was like, it's just, and I was like, he's in a better place. He's not suffering anymore. And she's like, I know. I just wanted to let you know, because, so it's just things like that sometimes catch up to me. But
yeah,
it's sad, but I just know they're taken care of, because when you get to see the dead, like, you're like, man, like, this guy looks healthy. He's happy, so you don't get to have that misconception of the suffering, like a lot of people do, or like, I don't have them here. I get happy for them. Like, I get jealous sometimes. Like, I'm like, you're over there. Awesome. You don't have to pay bills. You don't have to drive.
I get like that too. I'm so glad you just said that, because sometimes I'm like, lucky.
Yeah, so I'm like, and it's awesome. So it's like, but a lot of people, go through that. But it's like it's part of the ability, though, because it's not all unicorns and rainbows. It's like, you can see people suffering, random people suffering. Like, I'm like, oh, that person's being abused, or this person's this and that, but I can't do anything. I don't have the power to go change their lives. If I tell them, they're going to be like, you're crazy, like, get away from me.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the thing, is that I have to work the same way God does, which is, I wait for you to come to me. Until you come to me, then I help you. If not, then it's very rare that the angels tell me to give a stranger a message. It's extremely rare. I don't get why people do that. I don't get how people do that, like in public, like other readers and stuff. Like, I don't get it. But to me, it's very rare, because first of all, the angels and God knows I have a life and I want to enjoy it. And also, I talk to people every day with the same thing. So like, when they give me my free time, it's different. But also, it's because I'm not supposed to force myself on anyone. Like, I'm supposed to wait for them, and they'll find me some way, somehow. They'll get across. God will make sure they find me, but I don't do anything about it. So that's why, to me, it's very rare that I would tell someone that in public or something, even if I see what they're going through.
Have you ever thought about talking to your angels and asking to set a boundary that you maybe you don't want to know that information about people passing or suffering or anything like that?
No, because I know this sounds weird, but I think I would be disrespecting God if I do that. Because God made me perfectly. He gave me my abilities perfectly. So like, I feel like if I do that, and that's just me, I know that God's not going to feel that way. I know God's not going to be like, you're disrespecting me, but it makes me feel that way. That's the same reason why I don't turn myself off, because if if I was supposed to turn myself off, I feel like I wouldn't have gotten disabilities in the first place. And but the thing is that it doesn't bother me though. Even when I see death, even when I see something, it doesn't bother me. Like I don't look at it as a bad thing. I feel bad for the client, having to experience that, but to me it's just normal because I've been around it for so long. I've been seeing it for so long.
Yeah, I respect that perspective.
I
Yeah.
think what bothers me more is when I see entities attached to someone, then I'm like, let's do it. Let's get cracking. But when I see death or things like that, it's part of their journeys. So like I know that it's part of a bigger grand design. So it doesn't bother me. Because we've all experienced loss and then grown from that. So like that's kind of the same to me. So I'm kind of like, man, like that sucks for you, but it's gonna be good because it always gets better. It always turns into good because God makes sure of that. But it's to me, it just doesn't. So that's why I don't ask them to turn me off or anything. Because I feel like I would disrespect God. I would be like, okay, like I don't like what you gave me or something. But that's the other thing, and I've told Megan this a lot of times, is that to get to the level type of level I work with, it's a sacrifice and it comes with all kinds of stuff, but I'm aware of the sacrifice that I'm making, so to me, it's not bad or I suffer or like, oh my God, this is too much. Like, no, because the angels already told me and they warned me prior to that. And that's why I told Megan, last time we spoke, I told you, I'm like, you're getting in the big leagues, like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had like what was psychologically attacked. Like I had a night that was eventful and I brought that up to you and you're like, oh my gosh, 2 weeks ago I had a pillow thrown at me in the middle of the night kind of thing. I was like, great, we're on the same level. Perfect. So, but yeah, it's like really working through that and just accepting for what it is. And, I got through it unfazed. So
yeah. And because there's different levels of readers. I'm sure you guys are aware of this. There's those that, they give you these answers or they give you just little things here and there. And there's those of us that are here to change lives, that are here to change the world. And it's like a battle. And sometimes, so you get given more power, but you have a bigger responsibility. And that's why, to me, when I see those types of things, like, it doesn't bother me, like, it's more about like, because I trust and I know that God's creating this bigger design than what my own humanness might want to save you from or prevent you from, and it's why it's like being a soldier. Like, you no matter what. And that's how the angels are. Like, they trust God completely. They don't even question him because they just know who he is. And that's how they want us to be. Those of us that are giving our lives for the call, they want us to be like that too, because and honestly, at the end of the day, when you think about it, like, you're kind of like, oh man, like, God just knows what he's doing. Like, you just know, like, even though you want to question it, you want to find the answers, you get to the point where you're like, oh man, that's why, I didn't notice now, but it's just, yeah.
I've had a lot of moments where I'm like, I'm just giving this to God because I have no control over this. I can focus on the things I do have control over, and then the rest is up to the big guy. Because I think we all, we all have these abilities. We're all energetic, intuitive beings. It's whether or not you kind of work that muscle. And I do believe that the people who are called to it in their life purpose, no matter, and I hope people don't compare themselves, because we all have a point on the pathway towards the bigger goal.
Yeah.
So I think it's good for all of us just kind of connect, and it's kind of like, what superpower do you have? What can you do? For those of, like, we had a podcast episode recently about signs and angel numbers and all of that jazz. And we got a lot of feedback about that. You know, there are people who see these and they're like, oh my gosh, I see a penny all the time and it reminds me of my dad, or like there are feathers every day. There are some individuals I know that are so like, I see this number every day. What does it mean? And they get so worked up and so frantic about it. It's like, you need to let that go. Can you touch on that? I know you probably have a lot of experience with that, with people coming to you on that. Like what advice would you give to individuals who are seeing these signs?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most common comment that people post on like my social media. It's always like, what is this? Or I know they're trying to tell me something. What's going on? I'm trying to figure out, and like all these stuff. And sometimes it's like they're just trying to like become a part of your life. And there's no answer to the sign. It's just them being like, hi, hello, we're here.
Yeah. Hey, I'm here. You're supported.
But we think that it's like, oh my God, what are they trying to tell me? And blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing also is that misconception of like, especially an angel, like an angel doesn't know how to feel stress. So an angel cannot give you stress either. So that's why I always tell people, like, when you're stressing about what sign is, like, you're getting it all wrong, because the angels are kind of sitting there like, oh my God, what did we do? You know, we're trying to say hi, and now you think that something's going to come after you or whatever. So that's what they're trying to just do it in a different way. And that's why I always tell people, it's like, connect to the moment where you got the sign first. Like, what were you thinking about? What was happening? What was going on? Because there's going to be, if there is a sign that you need to get, it's going to be followed by some sort of connection to something you're wondering, something you're struggling with, something like that. And then if there's none of that, then just say hi to them. Just be like, hi guys, I love you, you know, and thank you for being here, because they want to become a part of you. They want you to understand that there's an easier way of living with them helping you, you know. And, but other than that, you know, like the feathers too, like the feathers, like this morning, I went to work out and I left my house and there was a feather, and I'm just like, I get feathers too. I was actually going to post it on my social media, even though I get to see them and hear them. I want to be like, oh my God, I get feathers too. But I didn't look for anything, you know, I took a picture of it and I was like, you know, to me, it was just there either for me or for my neighbor. I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
But I left it there, you know. So it's just like it's just an acknowledgement of like, hi, you know, we love you. Good morning. You know,
yeah.
good morning, something. And
I love moments like that.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. To me, like in angel numbers, it's also another same thing. It's like all these things that we're talking about, they're acknowledgments. Like it's an attention grabber, because that's why they use them. That's why they use the same numbers all the time, because they know that it's been embedded in your brain and it's now something that catches your attention. So they're going to use that to get your attention and to get you to connect with them more. Or if there is a sign that they need to give you, they're going to also use that for. But then if you're wondering more about what they're trying to tell you, instead of just keeping your eyes open to receiving what's coming or what was happening, then you lost the sign. Yep. That's why it's faith, because when you have that faith, you're not going to wonder about it. You're just going to be like, okay, what's up? What's happening? You know, or a lot of people like that hear, I don't know if you guys have ever heard like that ringing in your ear.
I was literally just going to say that. I get ear ringing nonstop, and certainly I could have tinnitus, but I always just say, when it's happening, I say, thank you, I hear you, but I can't understand you that way. So tell me another way.
So for example, that a lot of people think that you can tune it and find the right frequency, and kind of, but to me, it's just your body's reacting to them being near you. So you're hearing this, you know, it's like when you put two radios together, they go, you know, it's like that. To me, it's that they're just so close to you that you're picking up on that. So so that's where you can also pick up that time to just be like, what's up? You know, hi, how are you? Or something. Because you're picking up on that. Because let me tell you, if an angel had something to tell you, they're going to tell you. They're not going to beat around the bush or give you a frequency that you can't listen to. They're going to tell you some way, somehow. Angels don't mess around. Like they come in and out. They're soldiers. They're like bam bam. They're not gonna no. So like a lot of that, it's mostly just your body connecting to their presence and stuff.
Yeah, I've heard ringing, but then I also hear like a radio frequency sometimes. And that's when it's like, oh no, those are my angels. I feel like when I hear ringing, it's different. It's a different frequency.
Right.
And I'm still trying to figure out what that is. I don't want to put you on the spot, but to kind of wrap this up, is there an angel message for the collective or for anyone that might be listening that you can kind of transcribe for us? But again, if that's putting you on the spot, we don't have to do that.
Well, and I'll tell you the same message that I've been telling people. It's the angels always have the same one, when it comes to the collective, and then they switch to another one or something. And right now it's to emphasize a lot of unity, to make sure that we're united, that you're not going against someone because they like someone else or they like another political person, but they want to make sure that we stay united in God and that we're avoiding all of the reasons out there right now to keep you away from unity, because there's a lot of darkness right now and it's happening in every form, where it's creating division amongst all of us. Like if you're this, if you're that, if you wear this, if you believe in that, there's division happening everywhere. And the angels want people to really see past that, to see past those things that you might not agree with, but you can still see each other as brothers and sisters, and that's what they really want us to really work on, is on unity, to remain united, to put your difference aside or your own personal opinions, because at the end of the day, a belief is an opinion. We don't know if my faith is the right one. I don't know that, but I trust it because it's what works with me. But I also like what it does for other people, and if other people has something different. And that's what they really want humanity to do right now. It's to move past your personal opinion becoming a judgment, and to move past giving you hate of something like this and that, and that's what they want to make sure. And the other thing they're saying is to stop people to stop speaking for God when you don't even know God, and that's a big one, because that's all these people, like, especially with me, I get a lot of hate from religious people, and they don't even know what I do. They don't even know what it's like to get a reading from me, but to them, I'm already evil. I'm already doing something wrong.
Right.
And that's what the angels want, is for us to take the time to be open to experiencing something that you might not understand and you might not believe in, but to keep us united.
Right.
Because there's a lot of division happening, because the devil's out there right now, and he's really trying to create chaos. And a lot of humans, unfortunately, right now are giving in, and they're creating chaos, and they're creating division, and they're hating on this and on that. And it's just a mess. So right now they're trying really hard to make us see past that, to make us remain united, even if you like this and I like that,
Right. Because judgment is fear.
Yeah.
And so, open-mindedness. And of course, we believe in that message so much, because our podcast, one of the pillars is unity. It's one of the main reasons why we opened it. So that's amazing. Thank you, angels. Dany, it's been so awesome having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for your time.
Can you quickly just let everyone know how they can work with you and how they can find you?
I'm on social media. I'm at Angel Medium Dany Michaels on Instagram and TikTok. And my website's DanyMichaels.com, Dany with one N, not two. And so that's where people can find me. If, bookings and stuff are all done on my website. But I do post a lot of messages and videos for people on Instagram. I go live sometimes to answer people's questions, just to help as much as I can. We have a prayer night too that we do on Instagram now, where everyone brings their prayers and we all pray together for each person that writes something, because the power of prayer is so magical. It's so powerful. So those are my social media right there.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll make sure to include those on the show notes for everybody as well.
Awesome.
Thanks, Dany.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Connection Podcast. Any resources mentioned in this episode will be listed in the show notes.
If you like this episode, hit the plus sign button and leave us a review or share this episode with a friend.
As always, if you have any questions or curiosities about topics discussed on this podcast, be sure to reach out to us.
Meet us back here next week for a new episode on the Connection Podcast.